Okay, so today we are going to be exploring the agri-tech sector. Arguably, the two biggest problems that humanity faces today are how we solve climate change and how we continue to feed an ever-growing global population. And these two problems are so interlinked. Agricultural technology is giving us opportunities for us to not only minimize the climate impact of farming by giving us sort of methods of sustainable and regenerative agriculture, but also by using technological innovation to create more food with less impact. So hopefully solving both of those problems at different ends. And today we're going to hear from two speakers who between them are tackling both of those problems. So firstly, we have Kelly Price, who is the CEO and co-founder of Agreed Earth, who have built a data hub which allows farmers to explore, to trial and to implement more regenerative agricultural practices. We will then hear from David Farquhar, the CEO of Intelligent Growth Solutions, who are building vertical farming towers, which they're supplying to customers all around the world to help them produce food all year round, more sustainably, and using a smaller land footprint. So very excited to hear from both of them. With no further ado, Kelly, look forward to hearing all about Agreed Earth.
Thanks so much, Sherry. I really appreciate it. And can you all hear me okay, first of all? Just making sure. Okay, great. I also just want to say thanks to all of you for dialing in because I think this is so important. And if I could just have an entirely separate career of climate recruitment just to get more people into this field, I would do that with my time. But to talk about ag-tech and in the sustainability sphere, I'm going to share my screen and then put it on slideshow. So just bear with me as I get that up. Yeah, got the button. Great. Okay, and let me put this on slideshow. So hopefully it'll be big. Can't get the, there we go. All right, I know I've got 10 minutes, so I've got to pack a lot of stuff into a tiny bit of time. And I can't tell you all about all the skills that one needs. What I can do is I can tell you what I did and a few things that I learned, and hopefully that'll be of value to you. But who am I? So I have a background in biology and oddly East Asian languages, because why not? And I got my MBA here at London Business School. I used to, with all that background, work in the pharmaceutical industry, consulting, but I did a career pivot. I wanted to get in sustainability. And oddly enough, I found myself working in farming, agriculture. So pharma to farmer, that was my career pivot. Who would have thunk? How did I do it? I joined a program called Carbon 13. That's how I really ended up doing it. I would say that there are a number of ways, but even compared to 2 years ago when I was really struggling trying to figure out how can I turn my time to saving the planet, it's so much easier now. There are so many more programs out there, so many more investors looking to invest in this space. So it's a really good time to be looking to do this. Carbon 13 was a venture builder for the climate crisis to put together startups that would then, with their activities, draw down carbon. And I liken it a bit to Love Island meets Dragon's Den, because you had a bunch of individuals from all different backgrounds who got to meet and then form teams or unformed teams, as the case may be, lots of intrigue. And at the end of the program, pitch their business idea to the dragons. And then some of those teams got funding and became real companies. And we were lucky to be enough to be one of those. So one of the first things that I learned was that when you're an early stage startup, team and mission, what you're trying to accomplish, is so much more important than what you say you're going to do. And there's a number of reasons why that's the case. My team, myself, my co-founder Sarah, and my co-founder Reed, we came together because we really believed in nature-based solutions as a way to draw down carbon quickly, and importantly, in a way that would also help us continue to feed ourselves, and we're all pro-food. And we also found that our varying backgrounds, mine in biology, Sarah's in farming, and Reed's in satellite technology, actually could work together to come up with a solution to help this problem. And so we came together and we had vague ideas of what we would do, but really more than anything, we were dedicated to the mission. And the problem that we ended up choosing to solve was that of synthetic nitrogen fertilizer, which is made from methane, greenhouse gas there, using 2% of the world's energy to do so. And then when farmers spray it on their fields to grow our crops, 50% of it is lost, either to the air as an air pollutant, ammonia, or even worse, nitrous oxide, which is a greenhouse gas 300 times more potent than CO2, or importantly to the waterways in the form of nitrate, which is killing our aquatic life in our oceans and also is a carcinogen. Not too good. So we decided that if we could help farmers need less to grow our food, that would be a really good thing for everybody, especially because the price skyrocketed 300% over the past few years with the global energy crisis, since it's made from methane. So that was hurting farmers. So it turns out that using more regenerative practices can help them rehabilitate their soil and get off of nitrogen, but there's a barrier, and that is the fact that they worry that they will lose yield as they change practice, and they can't afford that. They can't afford a small period of yield dip. They could go out of business. So we realized that at the end of the day, really, it's a finance play to get them to be able to become more sustainable. And so we needed to tackle that part of the problem. And so the way we're doing that is we're using our combined backgrounds and technology as a part of this to help with the finance. So what we're doing is we're helping farmers see how their nitrogen is being used, but also get tips and tricks of how they could draw down on it. And we monitor that for them. And then they can not only get the benefit of having a lower overhead, but also get rewarded for drawing down, because that benefits the air and water quality as well. And that reward helps financially de-risk that behavior change and any potential yield dip. Now, again, more about things I learned. So every entrepreneur's challenge is to find product market fit before your money runs out. And that means finding a product or a solution, because if you don't have a solution to somebody's problem, you don't really have a product, and a market that's willing to pay for it. And the way you know that is not just those things, but you need to find people who pay enough for you to make a profit and are willing to come back again and again. And it will be described in many business books as a nice linear thing: audience, value proposition, create your MVP, and then make it a final thing. However, it's not a linear process. It's not straightforward at all. In fact, it's a bit more of a Sisyphean kind of cycle. In Silicon Valley, they say fail forward fast. And the reason for that is you iterate and iterate and iterate, and hopefully you hit upon something that works before your money runs out. And so we are in this cycle right now as we're building our product, and it's a really interesting place to be. I should also mention we've been going 1.5 years, just to give you a little context there. On top of that, there's what I call the Ag-tech challenge. Now, normally you would say, people say, oh, so here's your business B2B or B2C. Are you selling to businesses, or are you just regular old consumers? Well, B2B, each consumer, there's fewer, but they have a lot of money. Great. B2C, maybe not so much money, but lots of them. Well, with farmers as your customer base, you get the worst of both worlds, I like to say, because you have, they don't have a whole lot of money, and what they do have, they're very, very savvy with, and they hardly just spend just to see how something works. And not only are there very few of them, but they're consolidating. More and more are going out of business. The average age of farmers is quite high. So it's a real tough market to sell to, coupled with the fact that there are so many customers in this space. This is something I found from 2020. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of these logos probably don't exist anymore in that time frame, and a lot more have sprung up. So there's a lot of churn in this space because so many companies are vying for so few customers with I won't say they have limited purchase power, but they're just very careful with how they spend it. But that said, I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm trying to encourage you, because we need you. As Cherry said, we want to keep eating, kind of important. And agriculture is one of those rare things that's not only a source of greenhouse gas right now, but could be a big sink. And we could do that in a way that will help the planet restore nature, reduce pollution, and really help this growing population that we have continue to eat. So that are just a few of the things I've learned in the past 1.5 years, and I'm willing to answer any questions when we get to that space. But Yeah, thank you very much for listening. I really appreciate it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kelly. That was brilliant. And there was a lot of stuff in there. I really loved. One in particular was your journey from farmer to farmer. Fantastic. and and good shout out for Carbon 13. And yeah, the comparison of them being Love Island combined with Dragon's Den was, yeah, brilliant. Very spot on. I like that. And also like the fact that, you know, as you highlighted there at the end, farming practices can be a big contributor to the problem, but they could also be one of the biggest solutions. So it's that turning the problem into the solution, which I love. Yeah, thank you so much. And if anyone's got any further questions for Kelly, she'll be hosting one of the breakout rooms very shortly. So please keep hold of those questions and you can discuss those with her. And now introducing David from Intelligent Growth Solutions. He's going to talk to us about his organisation, their vertical farming technology, and a little bit hopefully about the skills required in his business as well. David, you're just on mute.
Yeah, sorry. You're going to have to bear with me. I'm labouring under a nasty cough at the end of some flu. So if I do cough and splutter, at least you're far enough away that it won't reach you. So David Farquhar, serial entrepreneur. I've been building and running and selling tech companies since about 1992. I had actually retired, and what I always tell people is exactly what Cherry said at the beginning when I first saw this thing and they lifted the curtain on it. Climate change, feed the world. Okay, I will come out of retirement to do that. So I am a chef to trade. That is my only connection with this. And I'm married to a chef. She still does it. I don't. And I'm a mountaineer by habit. So the environment is a huge thing in our family. So my journey into the sustainability sector was very much driven by personal belief and the best practice that we as a family can have and the businesses that I've been running can have. So, right, the company was founded about 10 years ago by a farmer up in Aberdeenshire. For those of you that don't know it, that's in the northeast of Scotland, where actually it's relatively dry, fantastic arable land, quite sunny, but cold, long days in the summer, very short days in the winter. And the genesis of this was he wanted to be able to grow his microgreens and baby veg for Michelin star restaurants 12 months of the year. Obviously, he would need supplementary lighting. LEDs were beginning to become viable, and he teamed up with a professor at St Andrews, and they proved that on a dinner table, yes, you could make this work. The question then became about scale, economics, and sustainability. So I took the company over in November of 2017, turned it from an R&D project into a real sustainable growth business, raised capital from the most credible agri-tech investors pretty much on the planet. 4 of them are based in the US. One in Switzerland, and a couple of non-specialist investors from here in Scotland. So the challenge that we're tackling is the fact that wherever you are in the world, there will be some subset of the 12 things I just put up on the screen that are making it hard to grow your food. They will be different in an urban setting, from a rural setting, from an island setting. They will be different if you're in the tropics or a desert or a temperate zone or the Arctic. But some subset of those 12 things are making it hard at the point where we are breeding like rabbits. And that statistic about needing to grow more food in the next 30 years than the entire history of agriculture, you can Google that. It's a real thing. And the amount that we are going to have to produce whilst we are causing climate change and novel climates is absolutely mind-boggling. The other problem is that we're incredibly wasteful. So if you think about food production as a 5-stage system, there are various amounts of loss. Everybody worries about meat and dairy, but actually the biggest losses are in the kinds of things we can grow in the vertical farm. And overall, if waste were a country, it would be the third largest consumer of food on the planet. The little graph there shows in red what's wasted at the point of consumption. The 3 bars on the right are the developed world. The 4 on the left are the developing world. So you can see that we behave very badly in the developed world. We also grow it in the wrong place. Academics will tell you that we grow enough food to feed the planet. Yeah, but just not where we live or where we consume it. This is not sustainable, just as the waste levels are not sustainable. So these are the big problems we're trying to tackle. So we are an infrastructure company building vertical farms, the likes of which you can see on the screen here. This is the James Hutton Institute, just outside Dundee, which is the Scottish Crop Research Institute. They are our landlords. The system you can see here is a 4-tower system, 2 on the right-hand side, 2 on the left-hand side. Those towers are 9 meters high. We produce one machine. It can be 6, 9, or 12 meters high. But the point about it is it is completely scalable. So you can start with 2 towers and go to 200 towers. It is a product. We don't do individual designs, but our covenant with the market is that we will only grow crop for research purposes. Research on the crop range, research on the machine, research on the agronomy. So that makes us pretty much unique globally. If we would go inside and you lie on your back in one of the towers, you can see 2 sets of racking, 1 on either side. Each one holds 25 what we call growth trays with lights. So on the top of each tray, we have the crop, and on the bottom, essentially, we make the weather for the one below. The rectangular frame in the middle, up near the ceiling, is the irrigation system, which moves up and down on a belt going from tray to tray. Each tray is 6 square meters. Think snooker table, it's exactly that size. Looking from the top down, you can see the keen-eyed amongst you will note that we can grow a different thing on every tray. So that means you're not creating a monoculture, and we can grow a wide range of stuff, as I'll show you in a second. So it isn't just about leafy greens, which everyone thinks vertical farming is. The tomatoes, these are all pictures from inside our farm, demo farm. So tomato starter plants, and now actually full cycle vine tomatoes. The strawberries are starter plants for greenhouse growers. The seed potatoes have been tremendously successful, and we're looking at bringing those to sub-Saharan Africa as well. The flowers at the bottom are lily of the valley for the perfume industry. You can see full cycle chilies, bottom right, radishes and baby turnips at the bottom. And we've had great success this last year with trees, 6 species of softwood, 6 of hardwood. They grow 6 times faster than a conventional nursery and are about 2/3 of the cost. And you get 10,000 trees on a single snooker table sized tray. So what are we doing for the environment? David Attenborough and the WWF wrote about us in the book, A Life on Our Planet. I think it's page 151. We make 6 essential claims. The first one is that because we have no humans inside our tower, it's fully automated. We don't need to use pesticides or fungicides or herbicides. That has a huge impact because we don't need to wash the crop. When you wash spinach, it loses 80% of its nutritional value within 30 minutes. You think you're buying iron and vitamin B, you're buying leaf mass, and it will also make it last an awful lot longer. Secondly, we don't need to use any hydrocarbons. Not only can we run it completely on renewables, but we don't need any hydrocarbon-based lubricants. We've designed them out completely. Thirdly, the SEPA, the Scottish Environment Protection Agency, came up to do an audit. They said this is the cleanest industrial process and there's nothing for us to license here. So we put nothing in the air, the watercourse, or into the land. Water is a huge issue in many parts of the world, as you will know. So compared to a broadacre field and a greenhouse, we are respectively 250 or 20 times more efficient in the use of water. And then in terms of collapsing food miles, we can site this thing anywhere on an unusable brownfield site close to the point of production or consumption. The final one is the thing WWF liked the most, releasing arable land back for habitat recovery. So imagine cutting this field up into snooker tables and then stacking them. This is a 4-hectare field, but we're going to stack it into 42 square meters. that is 10,000 to 1 ratio in terms of the space that you require. And it's also about 20 times more efficient, again, than a greenhouse. So as a business under the pandemic, we have gone from 0 to, actually it's now 250 million worth of sales. We have a backlog of now 350 growth towers to build. We're over 200 people. We're working really hard to bring more and more women in particular into STEM. And the big successes we've had have been with unconventional crops like the potatoes, trees and flowers. And we did that by working with commercial and non-commercial partners. So here's the global rollout. In order to achieve this, we have about 60 different roles which we need to fulfill to get a customer to buy, then get the product into their hands, commission it, support it, get it running. We will be hiring people for all those skill sets over the course of the next 1 to 2 years, including 13 engineering disciplines. And what keeps me awake at night? Being able to provide customers with the best possible service and helping them to access finance. Because right now there's a lot of skepticism about vertical farming, which is quite right, because a lot of high profile names are going under, and they're going under because they're trying to build their own. As the tech will mature, so they will, more and more of them will be buying from a vendor like IGS. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dave. That was, yeah, really, really insightful and looks like fascinating technology. Some great stats in there that I'd not heard before. So the one that blew my mind was about needing more food in the next 30 years than we've needed in the last, was it 10,000? That's quite a frightening stat, isn't it? And I didn't realise such a high percentage of the world food is imported and exported. So it looks like this could be a great solution to that. And to be name-checked by David Attenborough is a big win by anyone's book, isn't it? So congrats on that accolade.